Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of the UnTold Pride. Today we have with us a very beautiful lady who is going to represent a smaller community within the queer spectrum, but we'll have her talking about it. Welcome to UnTold Pride, Gauri. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much. Firstly, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a privilege to have you over. Gauri, would you like to tell us, our audience, a little bit about yourself today?
Sure. Firstly, thank you for having me. I'm Gauri. Professionally, I'm a librarian. I work in a management institute. To go about my hobbies, I like to read a lot, which is kind of obvious with my profession. Other than reading, I like to write sometimes stories, fictional stories, or swim. If I go on about my hobbies, it might be like an hour-long talk about only my hobbies because I change my hobbies per week, so it is a big list. So basically, I love to talk, swim, write, read, act. And currently, I'm doing some activism in LGBTQI plus community because I feel that the things which I went through for self-realization was not an easy or happy journey. So if I can, maybe I can reduce that stress of someone else by helping the community increase the awareness about my spectrum.
Wonderful. Gauri, how do you identify yourself sexually?
I am pan-romantic asexual.
Okay. Would you mind telling us, our audience, what exactly it means to be asexual?
Sure. So asexuality is one of the minority, we can say, in the community. When we say the community LGBT, it LGBT plus, it usually is like that, but it is LGBTQIA. So that A, the last A, stands for asexuality. Asexuality is a lack or no sexual attraction experienced by the person who is asexual. So it can happen that some asexuals might feel some amount of sexual attraction. There is a gray area between sexual attraction and asexuality. So the people who are in the gray area might feel a small amount of sexual attraction, but usually it is no sexual attraction for any gender.
Okay. You mentioned gray area, but living in 2020, all of us know that we live in this era of hookup culture. There is a lot of sex happening. There's a lot of stigma around that itself. You often come around stories of people dating each other, relationships, which to some extent rely on physical attraction. But then there's a lot of confusion about being asexual, where, for example, me, I might end up saying, I think I'm turning asexual. But do you think that's a myth, where people actually don't feel sexually attracted for maybe a week or so and they start saying, I think I'm turning asexual? What do you think about that?
Okay. So, first of all, asexuality is a sexual orientation. So a person cannot feel that for a week. So if a person is not feeling sexual attraction for a week, maybe because the person is tired mentally, not feeling to have that physical connection with anyone. So that's a phase. I won't use the word phase because it is used too much to express the orientations. But what I will say is, I can give you a food analogy. If you like momos, and for a week if you feel like I don't want to eat momos, so that does not make you momo hater. So similarly, asexuals don't feel sexual attraction at any time of their life. It can happen, we can say the sexuality is fluid. In the late life they might start having sexual attraction, but usually there is no sexual attraction for all the time, not just a small period.
Okay. Since you mentioned that, of course, sexuality is not a phase. It's something that you're born with. For me, being gay was easier because I knew the definition. I knew how do I identify myself with. But then does it occur for asexuals at some point of time where you realize that you do not feel attracted sexually or not feel like or not having the sexual desire? Does that confuse a asexual individual of being physically disabled or something, considering the mindset of the society that we live in? How does one recognize themselves and go through this phase and know that this is how I am? and this is how I'll identify myself with.
Okay, so what you said about like recognition is the most difficult part. What I feel about asexuality is because asexuality is not much known to the people. It is like when I first came to know about asexuality, I was so shocked that there is something like this which explains what I feel. So recognition is the most difficult part, because what happens is in our culture, like in general, when we see that novels or films, there is romantic attraction between the, usually it's hero and heroine. Nowadays LGBTQI plus movies are there, so it happens to show the homoromantic spectrum also. But usually what happens, romantic attraction is shown which ends to the sexual attraction or being physical with someone. So it is like fixed in the everyone's brain that romantic attraction leads to sexual relationship. And when you don't feel such kind of feelings for a person, like you may be romantic but you don't want to have sex with a person, so that can be confusing. And I will tell you short about my story, so it might help to know how the happens.
Definitely.
So when I was in school, everyone used to have their crushes, and I was like, that's so silly. I don't feel something like this, because I don't like person based on their looks, and I don't want to have a relationship just because a boy is hot. I never understood what makes that boy hot or sexy, or why girls used to drool over the boys. Like, what's the big deal? So I used to think they are silly, but when I went to college, I realized that okay, everyone feels like this, so it's I who is different. And in our society, being extraordinary is accepted, people clap for them, but being different is not. And that's why that I am different and maybe something is wrong with me, that sentence hurts a lot to yourself only. When you think that something is different or I am different, it's hard to feel accepted in the society. So when I started going to the college, I realized that everyone has the crushes, boyfriend, even the physical relationships. So it was quite difficult to understand what's wrong with me. Then I had my first crush and I was like, okay, so I am like everyone, that's not a big deal. But again, that crush was like, I want to know that person, I want to talk with that person, get to know him better. That's it, nothing more than that. So again, I was back to square one, no sexual attraction. Then I felt like maybe if I fall in love, I might get that attraction, because being grown in typical Indian society or Indian family, I can say, sex is a totally taboo subject, that you cannot have sex before you get married, or you cannot have sex other than your husband. So maybe the lack of love is my reason for not sexual attraction. This is the main thing many asexual girls feel, that maybe that in my mind it is fixed that you don't have to have sex, that's why I'm not feeling the sexual attraction. But it's not like that. So after I fall in love, I had a relationship, it was a steady relationship, it was going great, but still none of the attraction, I didn't felt anything. Once again, I told myself maybe this is how all the world is, and they are just hyping the sex thing just to show in the movies, novels, or anything like that. The thing is, we always try to make ourselves believe that we are normal, and that's why it's hard to realize and accept. Both things are very hard. So after that, when I realized, I had my breakup due to some other reason, but after that I realized that I find girls cute too, so maybe I'm lesbian, that's why I didn't have sexual attraction for a boy. But still, the same thing, I didn't want to have a physical relationship with girl. So when all of these confusion is going on in your mind, you search for the community. If you're not fitting in a heterosexual community, then there is LGBT community for you. You search for it and it's no, even there everything is about, many of the aspects are about sexual attraction or sex. So where are you exactly? So that question lies. So it was 2 years ago during the Pride month. There was, I don't know how, but I randomly found a site, Avon site. It's about the asexuality, and it had a big post about how to identify if you are an asexual, or things which asexual experience. So the moment I started reading it, I was like, yes, this is something I can relate to finally after so many years. So I started reading more and more, and by the end of that article, I was like, I slept with a hanger in my mouth. My face was so, like, it was full of glee, and my mom was asking what happened. Like, nothing, I read something interesting.
So you finally had all
Yeah, after
boxes ticked.
such a big process, I was finally able to find it. So when we see, like, if I knew about this orientation way before, the process of realization would have been shorter, and that mental stress which I went through, that what's wrong with me, why is this happening to me, maybe I'm different, or maybe just I want attention. That even I felt that, because many people say that you're attention seeker, that's why you want to be special, so you're making all these things in your mind. So the process can be reduced if there was some representation for asexuality. So recognition is not easy for asexuals because there is not much information available for asexuality. There is maximum 1 or 2 websites which tell about asexuality, and in novels or movies there is zero representation. No one ever shows asexual character. Like in the Riverdale, that was the famous series. Yeah, but Jughead, the character is asexual, which is not shown in the series. So, like, even though the character is portrayed as asexual in the comic, it is not shown in the series, the TV series. So it's hard to understand who we are.
So Gauri, before we come to the mainstream society, where do you think we as queer community fall short of giving the space for asexual individuals and letting them have their bit and stay happy as happy the rest of the communities? What are those points that you think that absolutely wrong? Let's be very candid here. Tell us quickly 5 things that you think that we as a community are not doing for asexuals.
First thing, they don't realize that lack of sexual attraction exists. They feel they just want to be special, और कभी किया नहीं है ना तो इसलिए नहीं लग रहा है. एक बार कर लोगे तो बराबर अच्छा लगेगा.
I'll agree to that.
Yeah, so that kind of things are hurtful actually. कभी किया नहीं है, that does not justifies the lack. Like
Definitely.
yeah, if a homosexual person को कोई जाके बोलेगा कि you have not had a relationship with girl इसलिए you are feeling like that, you will be offended. That's how a asexual person feels offended. The next part is the lack of representation. There are not much, like there are homo-romantic asexuals. They are in a loving homo-romantic relationship, so people assume that they are gay. They don't look at the aspect that they are asexual, and they are happy. They are happy in their life, so they don't want to come out as asexual or any other thing. So the community does not accept that there is such a thing. The next is which I found is very offensive is they say the asexuals can't have a loving relationship. That's why we avoid dating them.
That's
because
very hurtful.
It's because even asexuals are humans. They are not like someone who don't want anyone. Even they crave love. So the many people from the community, they avoid relationship with asexuals just because they are not ready to have a physical relationship with them. And the last thing about the community is they feel if a person is not having sex तो क्या बड़ी बात है, मत किसी को मत बताओ, चुपचाप रह जाना. So this is not, you are expressing your sexuality because you want to feel belong. So if an asexual person is telling you that he or she or they don't want to have sex, that's because they want to express what they feel and feel the belonging in this community. So just listen to them, accept who they are and let it go. उनको जीने दो, क्यों तुम लोग बीच में आते हो?
I'll agree to all the points. So everyone who's listening to Gauri and Impulse right now, these are the 5 things that Gauri has mentioned clearly, and let's make this a much comfortable space for asexuals. Coming to the next question, Gauri. How was coming out? We can't exit this question. How was coming out at family?
Coming out was quite a something. I first came out to my sister. It was like I came to know about asexuality. I was keeping on reading about it because it was a new thing for me. And finally, when I completely came to know about all the aspects, I used to tell my sister. She used to talk like, "Ab teri bhi shaadi ho jayegi kuch saalon mein," and all those things. I used to be like, "No, I'm not going to marry because arranged marriage is not a thing for me. It may be a thing for you, but it's not for me." And she was frightened that I'm a lesbian. So she was super terrified, and she is a big homophobic. Like, I hate to say this, but yeah, she is. So one day it was like I was too tired of listening to her saying all those things. So I said, okay, listen, I'm asexual. That's why I don't want to get married. I may get married in future, but I don't think I will follow the same arranged marriage wala path. That's not for me. And she said, okay. And I was happy because she said, okay, what's that? So at least she was listening. So when I explained all the things to her, the first reaction was, why are you thinking this now? Is this your age to think all those things? Like, काफी समय है ना. But that's not the thing. You can realize your sexuality even at the age of 12. There are people who know their sexuality at 11 and 12 also. So and then it was not a quite good coming out, I will say, because she didn't like me thinking all those things. And she said, actually it was one of the thing that my friend was homosexual, and I told, like, she came to know it from me, and like I used to talk with him. So by some means she came to know about him. And she said, me, like, I get influenced by people, and the person, my friend, has influenced me, but for my mind, being homosexual is not something I can digest. That's why I've taken something in the middle ground, because I want to feel special. So it was quite hurtful, because this is not something who will influence me and I will change my sexuality, or that's not thing. So she felt that it was attention seeking behavior. So I ignored her. Like, I tried to tell her things, but after a point you realize that person is not going to understand. So I just let it go. I thought maybe after a time when she is able to understand things, she think about it, she might understand. So I left it like that only. After a few months, she was like, okay, you're still hung up on that, when I had mentioned it. So I was like, okay, now she's not getting it. But fortunately, now after a period of nearly a year, she is like, okay, if you feel like this, you can stay like this forever. Just don't bring it up. So a typical Indian family वाला situation, that खुद के पास रखना, सबको जाके बताना
not
मत.
addressing the elephant at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I came out to my mother, and my father still doesn't know. How I came out to my mother was a funny thing. I was working on a webinar for asexuality, and I was working for like a late night, and she came and said, what are you doing? Your office work is like till the evening. What are you doing now? I was like, I'm working on something. And I was downloading some pictures for showing various kind of attractions, and there were like many homosexual couples and transgender couples. She was like, what are you doing? Why are you downloading all those stuff? Like, I will explain it to you later. And after completing the whole presentation, I actually presented the whole PPT about asexuality to her, and then she got the idea that why I'm doing all those things, and the way I was explaining, that way she understood that I'm asexual. Still, she didn't accept it. Like, she was like, why you have to work on such topics? Are there all the topics over in the world? So it was not quite good. I didn't actually told her I am asexual, but she got the idea, because the way I was presenting, the way I went in details about the asexuality types, what really is. So she had that blank, a little hurt face. She was like, okay, do this time, but not again. But after that, I started working for the community, and she used to listen me talking, but she decided, ignored it. Like, if she is doing it, let her do it. So I'm quite happy that she did not oppose the idea, but still they have not quite accepted the fact that I am asexual.
Let's hope they do surely accept it very soon. I think parents also take their own time as much as we do while acceptance. How is dating for an asexual in Mumbai? How do you personally think it is to date as an asexual?
Dating is not quite easy. Finding another asexual is like finding same size, same structure stones in.
So it's like picking a needle from a hay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very difficult.
It's very difficult. So there are quite asexual. Like, there are few asexual dating sites. OkCupid says they have dating for asexuals. I don't find it useful. But there is Aces app. It is Ace app, Ace app. They have all the asexuals, but it is from all over the world. It's quite good to have asexual friends, but when we see about the dating, what really happens is people have misconceptions. Like, there was one incident when a person asked another asexual, does this mean you don't get erection? I was like, No, that's an illness. This isn't sexuality. So those two are totally different things. So the misconceptions regarding asexuality leads to like people don't prefer dating asexuals, and even if they date, they have like मैं तुम्हें ठीक कर दूंगा. I have cure for this.
So they still have this notion that
Yes.
I'll have sex with you, you'll get laid with me. It's equally to the conversion therapy that homosexuals and other queer people do. Ki you once have it with the opposite gender and
Then you
you'll
will be
So that
fine. Yeah.
doesn't sound good. Asexuals
not at
aren't
all.
having a good time. We'll take this note and we'll definitely make sure that you get enough and equal part in the society. A quick myths about what people generally think and our viewers have come across. Do asexual people masturbate? Because we know that there is no physical attraction towards other people, but what about your own body?
Yes, asexuals masturbate. Thing is the sexual libido is one thing and the attraction is another thing. Asexuals watch porn, they can masturbate, and seeing something on the porn and masturbation is different, and doing it with a person is a different thing. So yes, they do.
Oh, so I think there you also addressed the second question, that asexuals also watch porn, but it's again very selective upon the person, whether they lie in the grey area or on either ends. How do generally people react if you tell them in the first place, I'm asexual?
There are quite few reactions. One of them, like, it's a phase which is common for all the orientations. The next is maybe you should visit a doctor. It's a hormonal imbalance, or you were a victim of any sexual harassment. That's why you are hating sex. But that's not the thing. That is PTSD part. Asexuality is not a symptom of PTSD. It is an orientation. And the next thing, which is quite ridiculous, which I found, but still many people ask it, so do you divide in two? I mean, how the hell that is possible? I wish it was possible. It will be cool to hang out with myself, but unfortunately we asexuals don't have that power yet. I hope we will get it in future.
Definitely. How strange does it feel living in this hypersexual era where everything is out and open, you know who's doing what, and then there's a section of society who are not completely or slightly attracted to or maybe having sex? How strange do you think looking at yourself and then you look at the rest of the crowd?
So the thing is, it's like liking a chocolate. If you don't like a chocolate, you don't get what the hype is about that chocolate. Like, ठीक है ना, नहीं चाहिए हम लोग को.
So that's like me. I don't like chocolate. I don't like chocolate in any form. So नहीं पसंद है तो you're not going to test it. Not at all. For the last one, Gauri, what do you think we as a society can do to make sure that not just asexuals, everyone within the spectrum, outside the spectrum, can live equally, can share the love? You and I can share the more love and keep. Sex definitely could be an important part, but not for everyone, and especially not for asexuals. What do you think that we as a society should do so that everyone is treated equally?
So the first thing is, like, talk about it. Don't be just. I agree. Being closeted is easy. People talk things about you if you come out. People have prejudices. They presume things about you, but come out and talk to you. First, start with your parents or the loved ones. Maybe they will take time to understand, but start it. Like, when you start telling people about how it is, when you tell 10 people, at least one people will accept it, and that one person may spread it to the next person. So what happens is, being the belonging feeling, like, now it is like two communities, the hetero community and LGBT plus QIA plus community. So it will be a total one thing. The people, there won't be a need for the two communities. We all are humans. We all are same.
At the end, it's all one society.
So what's the big deal about making, like, why do people care that who is sleeping with whom or who is not sleeping with whom?
I think that's like your evening tea gossip.
Yeah.
I think most of us would do it, and no harm in it, but I think, of course, definitely we should do that as a society.
So for a society, you should just accept who they are. Like, even if the person is homosexual, heterosexual, intersex, transgender, asexual, anyone from just start accepting them as a society, like a community. You started from yourself, and then eventually you can start, like, the change starts from you. So start at you and the society will change.
Definitely, very well said, Gauri. The change starts from here, and of course, Gio or Gine though. Thank you so much for joining us, Gauri. It was really a good time spent with you. And also to all our viewers, thank you so much. This was Gauri, who identifies as an asexual. If you have any queries or any questions that you would want to ask Impulse Mumbai or Gauri, please feel free to comment on the podcast video. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Vinay.